Welcome to Radiant Wisdom. Here we believe that life is more than just a series of goals and achievements. It's a journey to uncover deeper meaning and lasting peace. We're so glad you're here with us today. Pause for a moment, take a deep breath, let go of whatever thoughts have been racing through your mind. This space is yours, a place for reflection, connection, and calm. If you find comfort or inspiration in today's story, I invite you to like this video, share it with someone who may need it, and join our growing community by subscribing to the channel. Your voice matters, so please leave your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing from you. Today, we're going to talk about something that touches every life in one way or another: ambition. For some, ambition is a relentless driving force, pushing them forward at all costs. For others, it's a quiet whisper, an underlying feeling that they should be doing more, achieving more. Wherever you find yourself on that spectrum, you're not alone. The world we live in often equates ambition with success and fulfillment. We're told that to live a meaningful life, we must climb higher, run faster, and outperform everyone else. But at what cost? Perhaps you've felt it. The constant tug to compare your life to others. You scroll through your feed and see snapshots of someone else's victories, a promotion, a dream vacation, a new milestone. It's so easy to feel like you're falling behind, as if ambition is the only compass for navigating your worth. But let's pause and ask a simple yet profound question. What does ambition truly give us? Is it a path to happiness, or does it keep us chasing after something that slips further from our grasp the closer we get? In today's story, we'll explore the nature of ambition, what fuels it, when it serves us, and when it begins to take more than it gives. Together, we'll unpack the hidden layers of ambition, from the desire for recognition to the quiet fear of being ordinary. We'll reflect on how ambition, when untethered from purpose, can lead us astray. But when ambition is rooted in wisdom and intention, it can become a force for profound change, not just for ourselves, but for the world around us. So, wherever you're listening from, whether you're commuting to work, sipping your morning coffee, or winding down after a long day, settle in. Let this be a reminder that your life's value is not defined by accolades or milestones. You are worthy just as you are in this very moment. By the end of this journey, you may find yourself thinking differently about ambition. Not as a force to be feared or glorified, but as something to understand and harmonize with. You may even discover that the key to true fulfillment is not found in conquering the world, but in cultivating peace within your own heart. Thank you for being here. Now let's begin. The cycle of desire. Let's begin with something we're all familiar with. The cycle of desire. Think back to a time when you wanted something so deeply, a promotion, a new car, maybe even the approval of someone important to you. At first, that desire felt exciting, almost electric. You imagined how it would change your life, how it would make everything better. And then, after all the effort, maybe you got what you wanted. For a moment, you felt that rush of satisfaction. Everything seemed right, but then something happened. That feeling of accomplishment, that sense of joy, it began to fade. Maybe it took days, maybe weeks, but eventually you found yourself reaching for the next thing, the next goal. That brief moment of contentment gave way to a new craving, another pursuit. This is the cycle of desire. It's a pattern as old as humanity itself. When we achieve one thing, our minds often tell us that it's not enough. It's as if we've planted a flag at the peak of one mountain, only to look across the horizon and see a taller mountain in the distance. And so we begin to climb again. But here's the paradox. No matter how many mountains we climb, the horizon always stretches further. There's always another summit, another if only. If only I made more money, if only I looked a certain way, if only I reached this milestone, then I'd finally be happy. But have you ever noticed that then never truly arrives? The more we chase, the more elusive it becomes. Like trying to hold water in our hands, the harder we grip, the faster it slips away. Why does this happen? It's because we're conditioned to seek happiness in the external, believing that achievements, possessions, and recognition will fill an internal void. We buy into the idea that our worth is measured by what we've accomplished or acquired. And while those things can bring temporary satisfaction, they can't nourish the deeper parts of our being. The truth is, when we tie our happiness to fleeting moments of success, we unintentionally bind ourselves to an endless loop of striving and dissatisfaction. When we get what we want, our desires don't disappear, they simply shift. And when we don't get what we want, we feel frustrated, defeated, even bitter. Either way, the cycle continues. But what if we could step off this treadmill? What if we could learn to appreciate where we are, even as we strive for growth? This doesn't mean abandoning dreams or aspirations, it means redefining our relationship with them. Instead of chasing achievements as the source of our worth, we can see them as milestones along a larger journey of self-discovery. We can set goals without believing they hold the key to our happiness. When we understand this cycle, we begin to see that ambition is not inherently wrong. It's how we relate to it that determines whether we find peace or unrest. Desires will always arise. It's part of being human. But we don't have to be controlled by them. Instead of asking what's next, we can begin to ask, what is enough? Sometimes, the most profound act of courage is to pause, take a breath, and remind ourselves that who we are, right here, right now, is already enough. The illusion of control. Now that we've explored the cycle of desire, let's take a closer look at one of its driving forces, the illusion of control. As human beings, we crave stability. We want to feel secure in our plans, our finances, our relationships, and even our future. We tell ourselves that if we just work hard enough, plan carefully enough, or achieve enough, we can build a life that is immune to chaos. We believe that by accumulating more money, more influence, more recognition, we can shield ourselves from uncertainty. But life, as we know all too well, has its own rhythm, one that doesn't always align with our plans. Job security can disappear in an instant. Relationships can change without warning. Health can falter when we least expect it, and suddenly all the things we thought we controlled slip through our fingers like sand. This is the nature of the world, impermanent, unpredictable, and ever-changing. Yet, we resist this truth. Why? Because uncertainty feels uncomfortable, it exposes our vulnerability, and so we cling to ambition, hoping that if we achieve enough, we can somehow tame the chaos of life. But here's the harsh reality. No amount of wealth or success can stop time or prevent loss. Control, as we often envision it, is largely an illusion. When we tie our peace of mind to the idea that we can control everything, we set ourselves up for anxiety and disappointment. Think about it. How much energy have we spent trying to manage every detail of our lives? How often do we replay scenarios in our minds, strategizing for outcomes we can't guarantee? We convince ourselves that if we just try harder, we'll finally have everything under control. But the more we try to grip tightly, the more life reminds us of our limitations. The truth is, trying to control the uncontrollable is exhausting, and ultimately futile. It leaves us anxious, defensive, and disconnected from the present moment. Instead of savoring what is, we get lost in worrying about what could be. So, how do we free ourselves from this trap? It begins with acceptance. Not the passive kind of acceptance that means giving up, but a deeper acknowledgement that some things are simply beyond our influence. It means making peace with the unknown and realizing that while we can guide our actions, we cannot dictate every outcome. When we release the illusion of control, something remarkable happens. We create space for resilience. Instead of reacting with fear and frustration when life doesn't go our way, we respond with adaptability and grace. This doesn't mean we stop planning or striving. It means we learn to hold our plans lightly, understanding that life may unfold differently. It's the difference between gripping the wheel in a panic and steering calmly, knowing that we're navigating winds we can't predict. Ultimately, true freedom lies not in controlling life, but in trusting ourselves to face whatever comes. It's in knowing that even when things don't go according to plan, we are capable of finding meaning and strength within the chaos. Remember, control is comforting, but it's also an illusion. When we surrender the need to control every outcome, we're not giving up power, we're reclaiming it. We're choosing to live fully in the present, anchored in wisdom rather than fear. So, as we move forward, let's ask ourselves, are we chasing control or are we embracing life as it is? Sometimes peace isn't found in the answers, it's found in the surrender to uncertainty. The cost of endless pursuit. We've all heard the phrase, "you can have it all." It's plastered across magazine covers, whispered in motivational speeches, and sold as a promise in modern culture. But have you ever stopped to wonder, what's the real cost of chasing it all? The pursuit of ambition, when unchecked, often demands more than we anticipate. We think we're trading time for success, but what we're really spending is far more precious: our relationships, our well-being, and even our sense of self. Consider this: how many moments of joy have we postponed in the name of future achievement? How many dinners with loved ones have we skipped because there was just one more email to send, one more meeting to attend, one more late night at the office? The pursuit of more convinces us that fulfillment is always just a little further down the road, so we keep sprinting, telling ourselves that rest, connection, and contentment can wait. But as the years pass, we often realize that while we were busy reaching for the next milestone, we missed out on what mattered most. And here's the irony: the very things we sacrifice, time, health, relationships, are the things we long for when life slows down. When our ambition leads us to burnout or isolation, we suddenly crave simplicity. We long for laughter with friends, the quiet joy of an unhurried morning, or the peace of knowing that we've nurtured meaningful connections. But there's another hidden cost to endless pursuit: the toll it takes on our mental and emotional health. When we define our worth solely by our accomplishments, we step onto a dangerous treadmill. Every victory becomes a fleeting reassurance, quickly replaced by anxiety about the next challenge. We become prisoners to our own expectations, constantly striving but never feeling fully satisfied. This cycle can erode our self-esteem, leaving us trapped in a mindset where we believe we're only as good as our last success. And when setbacks inevitably happen, as they always do, we can feel like failures, even when we've achieved so much. Yet society rarely talks about this side of ambition. Instead, we're often praised for our hustle, admired for our grind. But at what point does the grind become a burden? When does ambition stop being a motivator and start becoming a taskmaster? This isn't a call to abandon ambition. It's a call to re-examine the price we're willing to pay. Ambition can be a beautiful thing when it's aligned with purpose and tempered by balance. But when it becomes an obsession, it can blind us to the simple, profound joys that make life worth living. So, how do we avoid paying too high a price? It begins with redefining success, not as an endless climb, but as a series of moments where we feel present, grateful, and connected. It means asking ourselves hard but necessary questions. Is this worth the time I'll never get back? Will this achievement make me more whole? Or is it simply another way to fill an inner void? Success achieved at the expense of our peace is a hollow victory. True success is measured not by how high we climb, but by how deeply we live. It's about knowing when to pause, when to celebrate, and when to say, "This is enough." If we're not careful, the endless pursuit of more can rob us of everything we hold dear. But if we choose to pursue our goals with awareness and balance, we can build lives where ambition and fulfillment coexist. So today, I invite you to reflect. Is the life you're building bringing you closer to joy or pulling you away from it? The answer may surprise you. but it may also set you free. Ambition and purpose. Ambition and purpose, two words often used interchangeably, but they're not the same. While ambition pushes us to achieve, purpose invites us to align our efforts with meaning. Ambition asks, how far can I go? Purpose asks, why am I going? Ambition, by its nature, is outward-focused. It drives us to seek external goals: success, recognition, wealth, influence. These can be valuable pursuits, but when they become untethered from purpose, they can feel hollow. Purpose, on the other hand, is inward-focused. It grounds us, providing clarity and direction. Purpose reminds us that true success isn't just about the destination, it's about the journey and who we become along the way. To better understand the difference, let's imagine two travelers on a path. One is fueled solely by ambition. They push forward relentlessly, measuring their progress by how much ground they've covered and how quickly they've outpaced others. But when they finally reach their goal, they look around and realize they've lost sight of why they started. The view isn't as fulfilling as they'd imagined. The second traveler moves with purpose. Their strides are steady, deliberate. They don't just focus on the summit ahead, they notice the flowers along the trail, the kindness of fellow travelers, and the lessons learned with each step. When they reach their goal, they feel a deep sense of fulfillment, not because they arrived first, but because they stayed true to their why. The key difference is this: ambition without purpose can lead to burnout, disillusionment, and a perpetual sense of never enough. Purpose, however, gives ambition a compass. It helps us focus not only on achieving, but on contributing. It transforms the climb from a race for validation into a meaningful expression of who we are and what we value. But how do we know if our ambition is rooted in purpose or if it's simply a hunger for more? It starts with asking ourselves reflective questions. Why am I pursuing this goal? Is it because I truly care about it, or because I want to prove something to the world? What will I gain from this? And what might I lose? If I achieve this, will I feel more whole, or will I simply add it to a list of accomplishments? When ambition aligns with purpose, the journey becomes as meaningful as the achievement itself. We no longer feel enslaved to the next goal or haunted by fears of failure. Instead, we feel energized by the process and resilient when things don't go as planned. Purpose also frees us from comparison. When we're driven solely by ambition, it's easy to measure our worth against others. Who's making more? Who's further ahead? Who's more admired? But when we live with purpose, our focus shifts inward. We measure success not by how we compare to others, but by how aligned we are with our values. Ambition without purpose is like building a house without a foundation. It may look impressive at first, but it won't withstand life's storms. Purpose gives us that foundation. It ensures that when we look back on our lives, we don't just see a list of achievements. We see a life well lived, filled with moments of connection, service, and joy. So, how can we cultivate purpose in our ambitions? It starts with small, intentional steps. Take time to reflect on what truly matters to you, not what the world says you should value, but what your heart resonates with. When you set a goal, pause and ask yourself, is this aligned with who I am? Will this bring more meaning and goodness into the world? Ambition is the fuel, but purpose is the compass. Together they create a life of both achievement and fulfillment. Without purpose, ambition can lead us astray. But when we pursue our dreams with intention, we build something far more meaningful than success. We build a legacy of purpose, resilience, and peace. So, as you move forward, remember this: it's not about how much you accomplish, it's about why you do what you do. When ambition serves purpose, the journey itself becomes the reward. The trap of spiritual ambition. Let's take a step inward and reflect on a more subtle but equally powerful form of ambition: spiritual ambition. When we think of ambition, we often associate it with worldly success, wealth, recognition, or status. But ambition can also exist within the spiritual journey. This kind of ambition doesn't chase promotions or accolades, it chases enlightenment, transformation, and higher purpose. And while these are noble pursuits, spiritual ambition can be just as dangerous as worldly ambition if left unchecked. Spiritual ambition often starts with a pure desire, the longing to live a more meaningful life, to be free from suffering, and to grow into the best version of ourselves. But sometimes along the way we begin to crave not just progress, but recognition for our progress. We want to be seen as wise, enlightened, or special. We may begin to measure our spiritual worth by how far we've advanced compared to others or how quickly we've evolved. Instead of finding peace in the process, we start striving for spiritual milestones, deeper meditation experiences, profound insights, or an idealized state of constant serenity. But here's the truth. The spiritual path is not a competition, and there's no finish line. When we become consumed by the desire to reach a higher state of being, we've fallen into the same trap that worldly ambition sets. We've tied our worth to an outcome. One of the subtlest traps of spiritual ambition is the pursuit of perfection. We tell ourselves that we must eliminate all flaws, purify every thought, and embody an idealized version of who we think we should be. But the more we strive for that ideal, the more distant it feels. This creates a dangerous cycle of self-criticism and disappointment because we're holding ourselves to an impossible standard. Another form of spiritual ambition is the desire to be different, to rise above the ordinary struggles that others face. We may begin to see ourselves as separate, superior, or more awake than those around us. But true spirituality isn't about elevating ourselves above others. It's about deepening our connection to all beings. It's about humility, compassion, and understanding that we're all on different paths, yet equally worthy of love and respect. The irony of spiritual ambition is that it often leads to the very things we're trying to escape: stress, self-doubt, and feelings of inadequacy. Instead of liberation, we become trapped in a new form of striving, always reaching for a future version of ourselves that feels just out of reach. So how do we avoid falling into this trap? It starts with letting go of the need to arrive. Spiritual growth isn't about reaching a final, flawless state. It's about being present with who we are, right here, right now, imperfections and all. It's about embracing the messy, beautiful process of being human, with all its ups and downs. True spiritual progress doesn't come from forcing ourselves to be better. It comes from learning to sit with ourselves as we are. It's not about achieving constant bliss or enlightenment. It's about cultivating a sense of peace, even in the midst of uncertainty and imperfection. We must also remember that spiritual growth doesn't happen on a timeline. There's no rush to figure it all out. The moments of stillness, the small acts of kindness, and the quiet awareness of our breath, these are not small victories. They are the essence of the journey itself. When we release the need to achieve spiritually, we create space for something far more powerful: acceptance, humility, and genuine transformation. We begin to see that the goal was never to become something extraordinary, but to remember the extraordinary depth within the ordinary moments of life. So, as you reflect on your journey, ask yourself, am I seeking progress or am I seeking presence? When we choose presence over perfection, we step off the treadmill of spiritual ambition and into the quiet, steady rhythm of peace. Because the real miracle isn't found in becoming someone else. It's found in learning to be fully, beautifully ourselves. The practice of balance. As we've explored the complexities of ambition, its cycles, illusions, and even its place in the spiritual journey, one truth becomes clear: balance is essential. Without balance, Ambition can consume us, pulling us further from the peace and fulfillment we seek. But what does balance really look like, and how can we cultivate it in our daily lives? The practice of balance begins with redefining success. In a world that glorifies constant productivity, we've been conditioned to believe that the more we do, the more valuable we are. But true balance invites us to step away from this narrative. It reminds us that rest is not laziness, and that saying no can be an act of self-respect. Balance challenges us to ask, what am I prioritizing, and at what cost? Think of balance as walking a tightrope. If we lean too far into ambition, we lose sight of the present moment. Life becomes a never-ending checklist, a series of goals that overshadow our relationships, health, and well-being. But if we avoid ambition altogether, we may miss the opportunity to grow, contribute, and fulfill our potential. True balance lies in the middle, in pursuing our goals without losing ourselves. One of the keys to practicing balance is learning to honor both effort and rest. There will be seasons of life when we push harder, working toward a goal, navigating challenges, or embracing new opportunities. But after seasons of effort must come seasons of stillness and renewal. Just as the heart must contract and relax to sustain life, we, too, must find our rhythm of striving and pausing. But balance isn't just about managing time, it's about managing our mindset. Instead of tying our worth to how much we accomplish, we can start celebrating the quieter victories. Choosing to be present with our loved ones, savoring moments of joy, and allowing ourselves to step back when needed. A helpful practice is to create intentional pauses throughout your day. These don't need to be long. A few minutes of mindful breathing, a walk in nature, or simply sitting in silence can remind you to reconnect with yourself. These moments of stillness allow us to tune in and ask, am I moving toward my goals with purpose, or am I running on autopilot? Another aspect of balance is embracing the idea of enough. We live in a culture that often whispers, more is better. More success, more achievements, more possessions. But balance comes from knowing when to say, this is enough. It's recognizing that your value doesn't increase with every achievement. You are already worthy, just as you are. In addition to cultivating inner balance, we must also nurture balance in our relationships. Ambition can sometimes cause us to neglect the people who matter most in our lives. We may tell ourselves that we'll make time for family and friends once we've achieved that next big thing. But true connection happens in the present, not after we've reached the finish line. Prioritizing our relationships isn't a distraction from success, it's a foundation for a meaningful life. Lastly, practicing balance means learning to let go of perfectionism. Balance isn't about getting everything right or juggling every responsibility flawlessly. It's about giving ourselves permission to be human. There will be days when we lean too far into work or too far into rest, and that's okay. The practice of balance is just that, a practice. It's about recalibrating when we stumble and extending ourselves grace when life feels overwhelming. When we cultivate balance, we remind ourselves that ambition and rest are not enemies, they're partners. Ambition fuels our growth, but rest sustains us. Striving gives our lives momentum, but stillness gives our lives meaning. So today I invite you to reflect. Where in your life do you need more balance? Are you overcommitting to productivity, or are you holding back from your dreams out of fear? Balance isn't about choosing between ambition and peace. It's about learning to hold both, gently and with intention. Remember, a life in balance doesn't mean we stop reaching for our goals. It means we pursue them with clarity, patience, and purpose. In this way, we don't just live, we thrive. Reflection and takeaway. As we come to the end of this journey, let's take a moment to reflect on everything we've explored about ambition. Ambition in its purest form isn't inherently good or bad, it's a tool. When used with purpose and balance, it becomes a force for growth, contribution, and fulfillment. But when it's fueled by fear, insecurity, or a need for validation, it can lead us into cycles of exhaustion, disconnection, and disappointment. We began by examining the cycle of desire, the endless pursuit of more. We've seen how ambition often tricks us into believing that happiness lies just beyond the next achievement. But the truth is, joy isn't found in the future, it's found in the present. It's in the quiet moments we often overlook because we're too busy chasing the next goal. We've also looked at the illusion of control, the belief that if we achieve enough, we can protect ourselves from life's uncertainties. But no amount of success can make life predictable. True peace comes not from controlling life, but from learning to navigate its changes with grace and resilience. The cost of endless pursuit is steep. We may reach the top of the ladder, only to realize that we've climbed the wrong one. Relationships may suffer, health may deteriorate, and self-worth may erode when we tie our value solely to our achievements. But when we pursue our goals with intention and self-awareness, we can avoid sacrificing what matters most. We also explored the difference between ambition and purpose. Ambition asks us to climb higher. Purpose reminds us why we're climbing in the first place. When ambition is anchored to purpose, it ceases to be a race for validation and becomes a meaningful journey toward contribution and connection. Even on the spiritual path, ambition can take the form of an unhealthy craving for progress or perfection. But true spiritual growth isn't about striving to become something extraordinary. It's about learning to be fully present with who we are, imperfections and all. Finally, we reflected on the importance of balance, honoring both our aspirations and our need for rest. Balance allows us to pursue our goals without losing ourselves. It reminds us that success doesn't come from relentless effort alone, but from moments of stillness, presence, and renewal. So, what's the takeaway? It's this: ambition isn't about how much we achieve, it's about how aligned we are with our values, how present we are with our lives, and how at peace we feel within ourselves. As you reflect on your own journey, consider asking yourself these questions. Why am I pursuing this goal? What am I hoping it will bring me? And what am I willing and not willing to sacrifice for it? These questions help bring clarity, reminding us that we are not defined by what we accomplish, but by who we become in the process. The world may tell you that your worth lies in your productivity or accolades, but here's the truth: your worth is inherent. You don't need to prove it. Ambition can complement your life, but it should never consume it. So take a breath, pause, look around. You don't have to wait until you've made it to feel joy, peace, or contentment. Those things are available to you right now, in the laughter of someone you love, in the quiet of a sunrise, in the simple act of being fully present in this moment. Thank you for being here today. If this reflection has resonated with you, I encourage you to share it. Subscribe to Radiant Wisdom and join this growing community of seekers and learners. Your journey is uniquely yours, and every step you take, whether forward, backward, or still, is part of the beautiful unfolding of your life. Until next time, may you walk with purpose, grounded in peace, and guided by wisdom.